If a customer has a contract that's generating recurring revenue, does that mean that it should always be included in ARR? Now, that might sound like a trick question, but the answer is actually no. There are some SaaS and cloud companies that purposefully exclude certain customer segments from their ARR reporting. Now, when we talk about customer segments, there's a lot of different ways to define those, but some of the most common ones might be segmenting by geographic region. So for example, customers in North America versus Europe or Asia Pacific. Segmenting by vertical industries. So for example, healthcare, financial services, government and public sector, or even by revenue band, enterprise, middle market, small business. So we do see examples of SaaS and cloud companies that have identified customer segments that are non-strategic or perhaps are not growth areas for them, and they deliberately exclude them from ARR. Well, why might they do that? Well, one example might be that there's a business strategy change. Perhaps they started off selling to public sector and government entities and then pivoted more to private sector and commercial accounts and no longer view the government business as strategic or growth oriented. Or perhaps they did an acquisition of a company. They're a US-based company and they acquired another entity that had a couple hundred accounts in Latin America or Europe or Australia or someplace that's not a growth or investment area. The most common example of excluding customer segments, however, is small businesses and to some extent consumers if the SaaS companies have those. And typically the justification provided there is that the small businesses have a much higher level of churn, they're less likely to be retained over the next 12 months, and so less meaningful to include in a metric like ARR. And here you can see a real-world example of a public company that has excluded certain segments from their ARR reporting.